Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Truck Talk on the High Desert Ranch. I'm Robert, and I'm joining you on a balmy 25-degree evening. Chores are done, and I have a few more things that I want to chat with you about, so I'm glad that you can join, and I hope you stay. It's going to be not a very long Truck Talk tonight, but I wanted to give you some things to consider, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of it's on our minds. If not, it probably should be. But let us both imagine together a scenario where folks can't close out their bank accounts by withdrawing currency. So instead, they rush to the stores to go on checkbook spending sprees. If they can't get their money back, at least they can buy things with it, right? Garages, basements are filling up with canned goods, shoes, clothing, liquor, ammunition. Goods are becoming scarce, pushing prices upward. The Dow Jones is going through the roof as investors are buying things for sale, anything for sale, that is. The crisis has been a blessing for politicians. They have thrived upon it and grown in stature because of it. It has given them an excuse to swarm across the country and on political media and fact-finding adventures and expeditions, and to be seen on television and any other forms of social media. All the time they are expressing great concern and appearing to take charge, right? It has legitimized their role, and they seem more necessary now than ever before. They have been converted in the public eye from oafs to serious-minded statesmen. The party in power says it has inherited the mess. Previous parties, blames the current one for dropping the ball. Both parties, however, agreed on the solution: more of exactly the same policies that created the crisis. Expanding power to the Federal Reserve, more government control of the economy, more subsidies and benefits, and more entangling international commitments. They were called emergency measures and reforms and became law. The same politicians that created the problems prescribed the solution. The public is grateful to have such leaders of vision and wisdom. The most important emergency reform was a bailout to the banks with taxpayer dollars. The banks were nationalized, at least in part. In return for the bailout money, they gave large blocks of stock to the government, which now operates as an official business partner, public-private partnership. This isn't a big step, seeing as the banks are already heavily regulated by government, even to the point of determining their profits, dividends, and executive salaries. That is the way the Federal Reserve, aka the banking cartel, wanted it. It was the means by which competition was avoided and profits assured. Monetary scientists and political scientists have always worked as a hidden partnership. This just made things a bit more visible. Technically, no bank was allowed to fail. The Fed kept its promise on that. When the troubled banks were taken over, all depositors with $100,000 or less who wanted their money would receive it. If the banks ran out of money, the Fed simply manufactured more of it. No one was warned about the value of the dollars. They were just happy to have them. Several months have now passed. These new dollars are flooding throughout the system. The money supply has increased by the amount of the bailout, plus the amount of the new spending for welfare, healthcare, and increased interest on the national debt and foreign aid, all of which are on a vertical climb. Inflation has become institutionalized. The dollar has become dethroned as a de facto currency. They have sent foreign investors and others have sent them back to the U.S., from whence it all came. Trillions of them have returned to our shores like a flock of birds that fill the sky from horizon to horizon. They're buying any physical goods they can from U.S. manufacturers. All this in addition to the factories companies, office buildings, and various real estate that can be bought, pushing prices that would have seemed impossible a year ago. Workers are paid daily. People rush to the stores to purchase essential goods before the prices rise even further. Commerce is paralyzed. Savings accounts have been destroyed, including the cash value of insurance policies. Businesses are closing their doors. Bartering is commonplace. Silver coins come out of private collections. $100 bills are exchanged for one silver dime. Following the crash of 1929, the supply of paper money was limited because it was backed by silver, and the amounts of silver itself was limited. Those who had money were able to buy up the assets of those who did not. Since prices were falling, the longer they held on to their dollars, the more they could buy. However, now things are exactly the opposite. There is nothing to back the money supply except politics. There is no limit to the amount of money that can be created. It is just a question of printing and delivering it. Money is abundant and the prices are rising. Those that have money are spending it as soon as possible to prevent further loss of purchasing power. In the 1930s, everyone wanted dollars. Now everyone wants to get rid of them. The Emergency Banking Regulation Act, the first one, originally issued in 1961, empowered the Secretary of the Treasury, without the consent of Congress, to seize anyone's bank account, savings account, or safe deposit box. It also gave him or her the power to fix rents, prices, salaries, hourly wages, and impose rationing. However, this all was to be done under the quote, in the event of an attack on the United States. That phrase has been now changed to, quote, in the event of a national emergency. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has been expanded to administer the directives of the Treasury. FEMA also has the power to detain and forcibly relocate any citizen in the event of a national emergency. On a somewhat related note, and very factual, fact check true, FEMA has bought, in all the calibers, 6 bullets for every man, woman, and child in the U.S., and thousands of armored vehicles were recorded being transported by railroad. Getting back to this scenario. Several more months have passed, and the President has declared a state of national emergency. The Secretary of Treasury has announced a worldwide agreement that will solve the inflationary problems of the U.S. and the world at large. This will be accomplished through a newly issued worldwide monetary unit. This will restore our commerce and put a stop to our inflation, and we will have control over our economic destiny, and this new currency will be our servant, not our master, like it has been. This new currency will be for debts both public and private. The old money will still be used, but will be phased out over the next few months. Federal Reserve notes will no longer be valid. During the transition period, these old reserve notes may be exchanged at the ratio of 250 to 1 of the new currency. All existing contracts expressed in dollars, including home mortgages, will be expressed in the same ratio. The IMF World Bank will back the new currency, and the Federal Reserve, as a subsidiary branch of the IMF, will operate this way. However, this new currency will be backed by something far more precious than gold. Instead, it will be backed by the assets of the world. These include bonds from participating governments, plus millions of acres of forest, national parks, and even agricultural land turned over by the U.S. government. Now that we've imagined, the question is, how much of that is real? How much of it has already happened? How much of it is happening? And how much of it will come to pass? That's what I'm going to leave up to you to decide. Again, I told you this would be a shorter truck talk, food for thought. But I would like to know your comments below. And I will leave you with this. And it is more of a question, challenge, whatever it may be, a call to action. And that is, after everything that's gone on, what are you doing to prepare? What is it that you can do to prepare? As I've said before, you only get so many trips around the sun. So it is up to you to decide what you are going to do with that time. And knowing that some of those trips around the sun will be difficult ones. And it's up to you to decide that the level of difficulty, because it will be difficult for everybody, even those elites. But the great news is there's more of us common folk than them, and they understand that. So I appreciate you coming along with me tonight, and I hope that you'll join and like, subscribe, and share this with others. This is a message that needs to get out, and something that more folks need to ponder. And again, I do appreciate your time.